Here's the concern for Boston is they are, and this take will age depending on how the rest of the series goes. Right now, the Boston Celtics are exhibiting real front-runner-like tendencies. And this goes back to last year, last year in the postseason. So not in the sense that they were front-runners last year, I guess, because they didn't really face a ton of adversity. Now, some of that is because Boston was just the best team in the NBA start to finish last year. Best record, all of it. But first round against the Miami Heat, gentlemen swept, really no resistance. There was no Jimmy Butler there. And the second round, Cleveland Cavaliers, it's not the Cleveland team that we see this year, at least when Cleveland's healthy, gentlemen swept. And the Indiana Pacers, we're about to talk about them later in the show, Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton got hurt early in that series, and they swept him. By the way, some of those games were closer than they should have been. And then the finals, they wiped the floor with the Dallas Mavericks, so they validated that run. And so, that's part of the reason I picked Dallas is I'm like, Boston hasn't faced adversity. Well, they smoked Dallas. Some of that was a matchup advantage, and some of that was they were just a way better basketball team. First round, Orlando Magic, come on. I love Paolo. I thought he had a solid series. If the Magic can just get somewhat of an offensive identity, I think they could be a really successful team moving forward. Until then, they are really limited, and Boston did what I thought they'd do, and that's gentlemen sweep them. But now you're facing a Knicks team that I think it was, even by Knicks fans, coming into the series, what would be fun is if this got to a game 6. If we get a game 6 at Madison Square Garden, it's 3-2. Man, the Celtics, they could face a game 7, and the Knicks are facing. That would be fun. Even the most optimistic of Knicks fans, after they got swept by the Celtics in the regular season, losing by 16 points per game, were 0-8. I think that was what the record was. 0-8 against the Cavs and the Celtics. Didn't beat any of the good teams in the NBA this season, consistently at least. And now they're up 2-0 after 2 20-point comebacks. The Celtics are showing real front-runner-like tendencies where, man, they face the tiniest bit of adversity come fourth quarter, and they absolutely melt. Game 2, ladies and gentlemen. Peyton Pritchard, 6th man of the year, hits a three-pointer with 8:40 left in the basketball game. The next Celtics, 8:40 left in the basketball game. The next Celtics bucket was made by Jayson Tatum with 18 seconds left. The world champion, Boston Celtics at home, went basically 8.5 minutes without making a shot from the field. In that stretch, they went 0 for 13 and 0 for 7 from three-point range. The Knicks outscored them 21-4. Jalen Brunson had a big-time fourth quarter. All those guys stepped up. Josh Hart was great the entire game. That's front-runner stuff, where you face a little bit and you melt. I'll say this, and then we'll get to Tatum. Listen, I'm not a Lakers fan, so I don't hate the Celtics. I get why a lot of people hate the Celtics because some of it's the reputation Boston has. Let's be honest. That factors. Some of it is there's a lot of Lakers fans all over the country, so there's a lot of Celtics hate everywhere. Some of it's just, hey, they're the most successful franchise historically in the NBA. People, for some reason, hate dynasties, even though they can't take their eyes off them. Not that this Celtics team is, but historically, the Celtics, over the breadth of NBA history, are obviously a dynasty, and they don't like that. I'm not one of those people. I'm kind of lukewarm on the Celtics. I don't really love them. I don't really hate them. So with that in mind, it would, for the long-term on-court product of the NBA, which is excellent as is, it would not be the worst thing ever if the Knicks beat the Celtics in 5-6 games. I say that opening night, when these two teams actually faced off, ironically. I remember coming in, it was a Tuesday night, Celtics ring night, banner, all of it. Next day, they blew out the Celtics, badly smoked them. The Celtics blew out the Knicks. I remember coming in the next day on my show, and I said, listen, blowouts are never terribly entertaining. That was the least interesting blowout I think I've ever seen in my life. And it's not, the Celtics don't play an entertaining brand of basketball. It doesn't mean they're not a great team. I think they're the best roster in the league. I think Mazzulla, who I've been critical of, has improved drastically as a head coach. We're about to really see when he's put to the test now. It's not a fun brand of basketball. Again, sorry to sound like an old head, even though I'm 21 years old. They shoot too many threes. You're like, Bryson, You, a Warriors fan, saying they shoot too many threes? Folks, the Boston Celtics this season average shooting 47 threes a game. The Golden State Warriors, I want to go over this because people are like, oh man, the Warriors ruined the league. They shot too many threes. Oh my God. The 73-win Warriors, Boston Celtics shot 47 threes on average per game this season. The Warriors, in the 73-9 win season, the unanimous Steph Curry MVP year, Klay Thompson was at his prime, average shooting 31 threes. The two greatest shooters maybe ever. Steph is the greatest shooter ever. Klay's in the top 5. Greatest shooting backcourt ever. That team, 73-9, averaged 31 attempts from 3 per game. The next season, in which I think is the greatest team ever assembled, because said 73-win team that was a minute away from back-to-back titles said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to add an MVP 27-point-per-game scorer in Kevin Durant. They add KD, who obviously is a great shooter in his own right. Same number, 31 attempts from 3. The next season, so you have to imagine the team chemistry is pretty good by this point. Second season with Durant. The Warriors' 3-point attempts went down to 29 attempts from 3. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that ranked 14th in the NBA. There was a time, prime Warriors, Steph, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond, 14th in the NBA in threes attempted per game, because there were layers to the Warriors offense. It was cutting. It was ball movement. It was a lot of threes, obviously, because you have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Durant to a degree. But there's mid-range, and we're going to get to the basket, and we're going to get to the free throw line, and we're going to lock you down the defensive end, and we're going to be well coached. There are different elements that the Warriors could beat you in. I mean, I'll never forget a game in 2019, the next year. Warriors are in a game 2, Kevin Durant's hurt, against the Portland Trailblazers. They're down 10 in the fourth quarter. And I think like in the last 6 minutes, they didn't make a 3. Like that's like they could beat you multiple different ways. Some people say, oh man, the Warriors screwed it up. No. This is not fun to watch. The James Harden, Chris Paul Houston Rockets were not fun to watch when it was threes and layups. Heck, the Celtics don't even shoot those anymore. Jayson Tatum had a wide open 3, 3 minutes to go in the game. Al Horford sets a screen on Jalen Brunson, 6'2" Jalen Brunson, who's knocked down on the floor. Tatum has a freeway to the basket, and he takes the 3. Let's talk about Jayson Tatum on that note. I have been a fans too strong, a Jayson Tatum supporter on this show for years. I think I've always said when it comes to big elimination games or closeout opportunities, he's one of the more clutch players in the league in that regard, over the breadth of elimination games or closeout games. I mean, heck, last year, Tatum dropped like a near 30-point triple-double in Game 5 against Dallas after having a brutal offensive series before that. So closeout, elimination games, Tatum's actually really, really good. But this is, and I've had this discussion with Celtics fans, with Jayson Tatum fans over the last 8 months or so. When people are like, man, Bryson, why won't you just let him be in the best, not best player in the world discussion? I don't think anyone puts Tatum in the best player in the world. Anyone who knows jack about basketball knows that Jokic just clears everybody comfortably. But why won't you put Jayson Tatum in the face of league discussion? LeBron and Steph, they're about to be done. So who's going to be the next guy? You know, we hear Wemby. We hear Anthony Edwards. That's the one, kind of the big one is, man, Tatum's got the ring, Anthony Edwards doesn't. Why don't you have Jayson Tatum above Anthony Edwards in the face of the league discussion? And it's pretty simple. Tim Duncan, there was a time where Tim Duncan, I'd say from around 03 to 07, 08, like a 3 to 5 year run-ish, was clearly, with respect to the late, great Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, there was a stretch where he was the best player in basketball. Multi-time MVP, multi-time champion, Spurs had a dynasty. Not a day in his life, Tim Duncan was the face of the NBA. And we're talking about, folks, one of the 10 greatest players ever, the greatest power forward, I think, by a long shot, with respect to other guys, ever, never the face of the league. It was Shaq. It was Kobe. There was a brief period where it may have actually been Allen Iverson. It was never Tim Duncan. I think face of the league, I think in this order, in the modern era, so we're talking post-Russell, Wilt Chamberlain. It goes, in my estimation, Dr. J, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Steph Curry. The thing that those guys have in common, obviously champions, obviously MVP guys, but there was a flair. There was something different that they brought to the table that either had never been seen before or they just did it better than anybody, and it was entertaining as hell to watch. What does Jayson Tatum do in that regard? What does Anthony Edwards do in that regard? I don't know. He dunks on 7-footers and leads the league in three-pointers made, and he's got the charisma. Guys, that matters. Having that, the kids say aura, that matters in the face of the league discussion. If you want to, nowadays, I think part of the reason, folks, like the NFL is as popular as it's ever been is, and even more popular than 10 years ago, is because now the faces of the NFL have always been the quarterbacks. I think the quarterbacks today are more marketable than ever with respect to the Bradys and the Mannings. Now, Peyton was on every commercial on television. Like, Peyton was very marketable. Brady really wasn't. Brady's the GOAT. We know that, but Brady wasn't the most marketable guy in the world. Eli Manning, not really. Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers. They just weren't. Patrick Mahomes is. There's controversy with Mahomes. There's his family, and there's, people think the games are rigged for the Chiefs, and marketability. Lamar Jackson, twitchy athlete, unbelievable MVP winner. Josh Allen, freakish athlete, arm talent, all of it. Dates a very famous actress. Joe Burrow, good, like all of it. And it's become more marketable than ever in large part for that. Tatum doesn't have that. And so if just his play alone is going to put him in that discussion, I'm going to need him to not, since 2023 in the fourth quarter of these playoffs, of the NBA playoffs, is 2023 fourth quarter, to not be a 38% shooter. I'm going to need Jayson Tatum to not, in the last two postseasons, be statistically the second worst three-point shooter. In that span, 29% from three-point range since last year's playoffs. I'm going to need Jayson Tatum in back-to-back fourth quarters, when at home, with his team having a 20-point lead over a lesser opponent, to not be 1 of 11 from the field, 6 points, 0 for 9 from three-point range. Now, guess what? They can bounce back. He can bounce back. He's good enough to do it. The Celtics, again, 25 for 100 from three-point range. You have to imagine at some point those are going to go in. Now, I would contend and say, what's going to happen when the Knicks offense gets going? The Knicks offense hasn't been much better than Boston, especially now, being at home, all of it. Max Kellerman said it best. Shout out to Max Kellerman. Hopefully we can see him on a TV or podcast at some point. That guy's great. He said it best, that the players write their own scripts. Jayson Tatum could show up. Games 3 through, 5, 6, 7, whatever, can show up, get the job done, be great in the fourth quarter, hit clutch shots. Again, as I said to start the segment, he's great in elimination games. He's great in closeout games. So when people are like, Tatum is a historic playoff choker, that's not true. He's just not very good in the fourth quarter of the postseason in recent years. And as far as the face of the league discussion, he's not the best player in the league. That's like, no one who knows anything about basketball would argue that. He does not have the charisma. Yeah, he's got the title, but listen, respect where it's due. Chauncey Billups won a title. There's a lot of guys that have gotten a title. Tim Duncan got 5, was never face of the league. So I think nuance has to come into the picture here. And it feels like with this particular player, people just throw it out the window because he gets picked on too much. I think he does. That's why I've defended him over the years. But we also have to be honest about what we're seeing. We have to be honest about what the numbers and the tape are telling us, which is he's not a very good fourth quarter player in the playoffs. He's not. And there's no other way. Again, I literally said on Monday, it's the most overused word in sports. People haven't been as bad about it in recent years, but it's still overused. It should be used sparingly. Choke. Boston Celtics have choked the last 2 games. 20-point lead, fourth quarter at home against a lesser team. You got to win those games. And they just kept shooting threes. So like I said early on, and then we'll go to break, it would not be the worst thing ever if the New York Knicks won the series. Not just because, the Knicks could maybe win the finals, but more importantly for the on-court product, that people don't try and mirror Boston. Because Boston will try and put it out there like, man, we're just trying to mirror Golden State. Golden State at their peak during the dynasty, at their peak, averaged 31 three-point attempts per game. The Celtics average 47. It's not entertaining to watch, and it's not good basketball. And it's part of the reason why they're down 0-2 to begin with. So, listen, I'm excited to see how the series plays out. Game 3 is a must-win for Boston. They're not going down 0-3 and coming back. I know they took it to a Game 7 against the Heat 2 years ago. This year's Knicks team was better than that Heat team. And so, yeah. And by the way, I think Boston's going to win Game 3. Now, I'm kind of leaning that the Knicks are going to win Game 4 and be up 3-1 with the series going back to Boston. I don't think they'd be dead at that point, the Celtics, but they would be in some serious trouble, obviously. But we have to call it like we see it. They're showing some front-runner-like tendencies, and reliability in the fourth quarter, it's not really Jayson Tatum's thing in the playoffs. The numbers say it. They're right there in front of you. So there you go. Now, again, this show is not live. I wish it was, because I'm sure, potentially Celtics fans, whether the show's live or not, will have plenty of issues with my Tatum takes or my Celtics takes, or maybe they won't. Maybe they're like, hey, excuse me, hey, our team sucks. You preach, Carver. I don't know. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.